Good morning, everybody. It's Cowboy, 8:30 a.m. EST, and we are basically on day 2 of Market Madness. We had the ending of the Japanese carry trade, and again, it's so funny to watch all these people who had no idea that this carry trade even existed. Everybody's talking about it now, but we've been talking about it for the better part of a year at least. I don't know if the Guerilla did an article about it back in like more than 10 years ago. So, I've known for several years that there is a direct correlation, inverse between the Japanese yen and the stock market. Whatever stock market used to fall, and this is going back to like say 2019, I would know to go long the Japanese yen, which usually means shorting the USD JPY, or shorting the beast, the British pound versus the yen. So, I was aware of it from a currency standpoint. But you got a lot of people now who are just jumping on the bandwagon. They're LARPing as currency FX experts. It's cute. What's up, March? So let's just take a look at things. We can see that the market certainly has calmed down. Probably best to look at USD JPY. So let me bring up the screen in just a moment, and we'll see what's happening with these currencies. And we'll take a look at a few different JPY pairs. We did have on the Rogue show that we did yesterday, excellent show. Me, via the Guerilla, who should be joining us shortly, and Velez. All three of us did a show yesterday, and I'm going to put it up on Algo Factory as well, YouTube channel, so you'll be able to see that if you haven't yet. And we cover a lot of stuff, a lot of what's going on there. You can see here, this is the weekly chart. This is going back all the way to 2022. And the yen has been going down against the dollar since like 2020. And really, if you look at it, you can say the same thing going back to, what is this, 2012? Yeah. Well, what's this? Let me see what I got going on here. Oh, pi cycle. All right, let me take that off. So that being the case for about 20... well, I'd say about 12 years, the yen's been devalued. And, they had kind of put a lid on it from 2015 going to 2021. And what this means is that, just again, for those of you who've been living under a rock the last 2 days, the Japanese yen was being printed, and it was being printed at very low interest rates. And that cheap Japanese yen was being used to basically finance. It was a liquidity solution, really, for the rest of the market, right? So without that liquidity, the stock market is going to have trouble. And over the last couple of months, the Japanese have stopped printing the cheap yen. They changed their stance. They've said they're no longer going to play that game, and they've hiked their rates twice. And the last 2 months, they've hiked it, and they hadn't hiked the rates in 20 years. So, we got to understand that things are changing rapidly, and it really hit. I mean, it's been having a toll on things like for the past few weeks, but the markets didn't see it or feel it up until a week or two ago. So you're just looking at the last 5 weeks of the Japanese yen being strong against the dollar, right? When the change initially happened, things went the opposite direction. It was a little counterintuitive when the Japanese started hiking. The Japanese Bank of Japan started hiking the rates on the yen. The dollar got stronger against the yen, which was an interesting look. And then finally something broke, and they hiked again, and you saw what's been going on here. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this a little bit just to see how drastic it was over the last few days, because it really started to hit. The Japanese stock market, of course, took a big hit, and that was on like Sunday. But you can see that the currency has been moving now for quite some time, going back to the 10th of July, right? So it's not like this change in the value of the currency is a big surprise, and it's across JPY pairs, right? We won't spend too much time on this. I know we want to see what's going on with like Bitcoin, and we're going to look at all that. But you see, across JPY pairs, it's all pretty much the same. So it's not like the dollar all of a sudden got weak against the JPY. It's that the JPY got strong against everything else. So we can look at just real quick at the SP 500. You can see things have moved in concert with that. There has been a pullback for a number of days going back to the 17th. So they were able to hold it up for about a week. But finally, things started to fall, and then going back a few days, things really started to fall. And of course, the last 2 days, it's been a very hard drop. But it does look as if going back to what is this? The Sunday's futures open, things are holding for the moment right now. And we were in the middle of doing that show, and we have somebody, one of the audience members lives in Japan, and she told us that that over there the news was such that they have seen what it's done to the Japanese stock market, which it's really hurt the Nikkei. Nikkei is down. It's up 10% now, but it was down quite a bit due to all of this. The Nikkei was down. Let's see here. The Nikkei was down 25%, their stock market. Now, you have to understand, over in Japan, the BOJ owns, I think, like 40% of the Nikkei, which is basically like their Dow Jones kind of. So that's a big move. Now it's up 10% in the last couple of days, but it is still down from its peak. It is still down 20%, which is massive. Big jump. So you can see the effect it's having on their stock market. However, I'm just guessing that they were tired of watching their currency devalue, but there are many theories as to why they're doing this, and nobody really knows right now. I mean, I don't want to say nobody knows, but, I certainly don't pretend to know why. I think it might have to do with either they just want to protect their currency, or they're starting to rotate away from kind of the U.S. system and into a more international system, which would make sense considering that the U.S. really is not manufacturing anymore, and a lot of countries are not using the dollar like they used to in trade, and the move away from the dollar has been increasing with the BRICS nations and things like that. We've been talking about this stuff for a long time. This is not really news to anybody who's been following us. We expected everything we're seeing. We just didn't know exactly when it was going to happen, but we knew. I've been doing videos for everybody, even for the whole public, to see that something is going to happen soon. And, if you're following Algo Factory and you're watching these shows, then none of this should be a real big surprise to you, right? We've been talking about it since the Japanese changed their stance, certainly. And I've been talking about the Japanese yen and what's going to happen to it at this point. At that point, I've been predicting that for months. So anyway, we're looking at Bitcoin now. I know that's probably what everybody wants to look at. And it looks like the price bottomed out very suddenly here at 48,000. Pretty big fall. Bitcoin itself fell about 30%. Yeah, that's a big dump. And now from its peak, it is now at, from this recent peak, by the way, it's down about 20%. From its height, it's down, from its recent high, it's down about 25%. So significant. Again, it's been caught, and I'm watching the yen on a different screen, and it continues to be a little more controlled, if you will. So it looks like things are kind of coming back to normal a little bit. However, I wouldn't say that we're out of the woods yet. We talked, we talked about this yesterday. This is now public. Like, V the Guerilla shared a few things with our private live lab that we cannot share with everybody. But the move down in Bitcoin, according to V, who does, deals with institutional type players, said that the big boys really didn't sell. And this was all retail panicking. And this was all a lot of algorithms pushing price down. So that kind of gives a little bit of confidence that we're not looking at some kind of a, coming bear market event. Doesn't mean it's not going to come, though. And until we hear some news from Powell or some kind of officialdom, until we hear about how they're going to keep markets from falling, if they even can, then, we don't know. We're not out of the woods yet, right? We could still be headed into like a bear market that we haven't seen in a long time. That is possible, but we haven't heard how this is going to be mitigated. I mean, if let's just say the Bank of Japan turned around and said, okay, this is too much damage, we're going to stop doing this, that would turn everything around, potentially, right? Potentially that could fix it all. It's not unfixable in the near term. In the long term, though, the way that the market has operated, of course, there is going to be a bear market, but Bitcoin is in the middle of what's supposed to be a bull market. But this move yesterday, of course, these types of shakeouts happen whether you're in the rest of this traditional finance business with Japanese yen. These kind of shakeouts happen every bull market. On the way up, after the halving, there's a pullback. And before the pullback is done, there's usually a hard move down to shake everybody out. And according to what V the Guerilla said, who's been doing these deals with large players, your large players were not selling on this move down, right? So that kind of gives us a clue that, okay, if the large players didn't sell, then this is a bunch of small people panicking out. So, it might be that this is a buying opportunity. And these pullbacks happen in crypto. It's actually pretty typical for this to happen. So I wouldn't look at this as a unique event. I wouldn't look at this as, oh my gosh, this particular bull market is messed up. And no, this is just what happens with crypto, especially this time of year, right before a big move up. It tends to wash everybody out. And I've been talking about a washout for quite some time. It's not really news. Before we move on to the private, I will take a brief look at the liquidity, see if we can grab some data there. Let's do that. And then once these liquidations data is up and we've given an assessment, then we'll probably pop over to the private live lab and continue over there. There's a little liquidity downside. We're looking at around, say, 50,000, but that's not much down here. Now, if the price wants to go down, it'll go down, right? These liquidity nodes are good for sort of assessing targets, but price has to want to go in this direction in order for price to actually go grab this liquidity. And most liquidity is sitting in the prior range from basically 61,000 to 72,000, and there's a lot of it sitting at 67. So at this point, that's pretty far away from price. I can see that on the higher time frame, sets the daily. I just want to take a look at what the algos are doing. Okay, so yeah, I mean, look, high time frame, things could easily flip around bullish. We're just at a point where it's going to take right now the bulls to step in a very strong way if we want price to head up right now. And it could happen. It's very possible. In fact, in these particular times when you see this big washout at the end of the post having a lull, that a lot of times means the bulls will step in and push price up. But that could take a week or two or days or whatever. I wouldn't expect it to happen today. But as long as price kind of stabilizes, and ideally it stabilizes above 60,000, we get some kind of, so far, technically, we're seeing a V shape. I don't know that it's going to look like a V shape on a high time frame, but on the lower time frame, it's very V shaped. And I mean by V shaped, like price headed down, and it's already so far headed up nicely and strong. Now it needs to continue up to be a V shape, right? We don't know that it's going to be like that. So far on a low time frame, it is. So we're just going to be watching, monitoring, and there's plenty of opportunities to trade. I mean, this is the market you want to trade. There's a lot of volatility, especially with JPY pairs on Forex. So, but right now we're just watching price, seeing if it stabilizes in the 50,000 range. It's currently in, it's above this support going back into July. So we'll see ideally if it can stay above near term, if it can stay above 53,000. So 53,000 is, you could call it kind of a must bounce. There are some traders who believe price will head down to 44,000, and that's possible. 44,000 is an older support. And if we take a look at the big move up going back to, January, basically, that's a 618 retracement. And we're talking about the massive move up for this year. A retracement to 44,000 is a 618. So I think those are the two areas I'd be looking at for where price might head down to. Is going to be 53 and bounce up, or it might head down to 44 and bounce up. Of course, it could just keep going up. That would be nice, but I don't see that right now in the charts. I don't think we're ready to start heading up yet. I think it's going to have to discover some kind of equilibrium and then get pushed up. But you never know. If it's all dark algos kind of pushing price down, then dark algos could probably push it right back up. We just have to see things stabilize in the rest of the market, I think. So that's it for now. And I appreciate everybody watching. If you want to know more about what we do, how we help people become traders, zap the QR code top right-hand corner. It'll take you to our website, www.algofactory.tech. And we help people become traders. We help people take advantage of all this craziness in the market. This craziness in the market, like we do really well. This is where we get a lot of opportunities to sell. One of our clients She took a short on the dollar Swiss, and apparently her account increased by 10% on that short. So she must have had some great targets on that. So, this is the kind of thing that we do. We like when markets go ape. There's lots of opportunities for us in that. So that being the case, algofactory.tech, come check us out, trade your job, upgrade your life, and do not forget.
Join us or die.